Hello friends, new video for you still down here at the beach in Tulum. So I wanted to make a video for you on a topic that's kind of a little bit depressing, but I hope you bear with me, which is what to do when you lose your inspiration. I know that's a big thing to say as a musician and two other musicians or artists, creators, but I think it happens to all of us that we have phases where we just feel like the stuff we're doing is just not good, or we don't feel it anymore, we're not connected anymore, whatever. There's 1,000 variations of why you can get to a place where you feel like you're just uninspired. It actually happened to me after I did my last Setsuna album, which I realize now is almost 10 years ago. I somehow, after that album, just had a feeling of I've kind of said everything I felt like I needed to say right now, and I just stopped. I literally stopped. I sold off 90% of my studio gear, and I had a big studio at the time, and concentrated on other things for a few years. And it was actually really great because I somehow realized that it was fine to just stop, and I needed it. I've been really working intensely with music for a few years already at that point, or a few years, God, I think like the best part of a decade or maybe even longer. And I was really proud of that album, really happy with it. And I said, okay, let's just leave it there for a while. The awesome thing was that when I started again, I was really into it again. So sometimes taking a creative break, I think, can be a really great way to find back the inspiration. It doesn't need to be like years. It can be just a few days, a few weeks probably would be more effective. Just to stop yourself from forcing yourself to make your art, and actually just saying, hey, I'm not feeling it right now, take a break. It's totally cool. The other thing that I can really recommend is doing things that connect you back to yourself, because I think that, being creative has a lot to do with how connected you feel to yourself, and through that to the bigger overall, reality we live in. So this is actually something that Sebastian Müller spoke a lot about in his mentorship, and I thought it was amazing and so wise. Is, he very often goes for walks in the forest and, just make sure he's really connected to himself and to nature before he even attempts anything to do with creativity, just to make sure that the vibe, I guess, can flow, and that it's not just about the studio, the gear, the music, the creative process, but everything else that's also important for us as human beings to feel good. And I think you do definitely create your best art when you're in a positive space yourself. I mean, I guess some great music has also come out of people being in a really terrible space, but at least for me, I can say I don't need to be in a terrible place to make music. I'm actually usually better when I'm in a good space, both mentally and from a physical health point of view. And I think that would be a third point that I would maybe point out, is how important it is to just, take care of yourself. I mean, obviously living life of excess, especially if you're younger, is really fun, and your body probably tolerates it to a certain degree. But as you get older, I'm 47 now, there comes a point where you realize, like, shit, this isn't worth it, man. It's just really not worth it. When you start to realize that, every night where you've been partying and had a few drinks even takes multiple days to get over again, and all the time that you miss for either being creative, being with your family, your friends, the difficulty it causes to be able to meditate, things like that. For me, it just really became not worth it after a while, and I realized I much more enjoy being in quite a clear headspace. So my tip there would be, take care of yourself, try to eat well, don't do things to excess, sleep well, super important. If you can, and if that's your thing, if you're interested in it, try to have a regular meditation practice. It helps massively to just, be connected with yourself and keep the bridge open for bigger things to come through you. And as it says in the Desiderata, be gentle with yourself. And I think that's a beautiful advice from that classic text. I think the other things, if you're not feeling it, is to just listen to music without the intent of being a producer, which in my case just means going to concerts, watching other people perform, going to festivals, going to other electronic live acts, or whatever music's out there that's available to me that I'm into, can be hugely inspiring and can really motivate me to also get back into the studio. And that can mean you stream a concert also on YouTube, you know. There's so many amazing concerts, like Jan Blomqvist, Bodzin did this such a great, you know, live performance on top of that mountain, that infamous concert on Circle. I think that was part of him also just like launching and taking off like crazy. Ryx recently did a beautiful video for Circle also in Brazil. You know, there's so many amazing performances on the internet, and I guarantee you watching one of those will reset your creative compass and they'll totally tweak you to be ready to go back to the studio full blast. So I think that's also a really good one. And yeah, maybe as a final one, you know, just staying connected to the things that inspire you, you know, like to keep that connection in space, to literature, to your partner, conversations with them, to your kids, you know, seeing how they see the world and how beautiful the smallest things can be to them, you know, getting feedback from your partner on things maybe that are worrying you or that you don't know if you should or can change about your life or anything, you know, like, I guess just being as present as you can in your daily normal life is a huge game changer, I think, for productivity in the studio, in your creative art, because I think holding that connection to everything around you opens again the bridge for inspiration and connection to flow through you. So yeah, my thoughts on getting back to your inspiration when you feel like you've maybe lost it. And maybe as a final thought, my experience is that every track I do feels like the best track I've done. Usually I always look back on older tracks and I just kind of go, oh God, why didn't I do that? Why did I do that and stuff? So even if the tracks you're doing today aren't quite at the level yet where you're like, man, I love it, like I'm super convinced, I think the art is really sticking with it and keeping on creating and also iterating quickly, like, you know, doing tracks quickly. Don't spend weeks and months on just one track, because I guarantee you if in that time you make 10, your 10th track will be way better than the first track that you totally overproduced. And I saw an interview with Bodzin that I thought was so inspiring and so interesting to read. So Stefan Bodzin, I'm sure most of you know him. If not, you're in for a treat, check out his music. You know, he was on a Moog thing with, what's his name? Anyway, he was on a Moog video on stage and with Johan, and I forget his last name, but yeah, this other really heavy Moog user anyway. And he was like, yeah, man, like, you know, I don't know, some years ago, like, as you all know, this guy is super famous now, you know, he has like 400,000 followers on Instagram. I saw yesterday, and he's like at the top of his game, honestly, fantastic musician. And this guy was sharing how, like, you know, at some point in his career, he was trying to just make music and do his thing, and he was, in his words, totally bankrupt. Like, you know, it just wasn't working. He wasn't, I guess, getting the gigs and the releases and the money and everything. And basically he was screwed, right? And he kept at it, you know, he kept going. And I think at some point, one of the big game changers for him was getting some stuff from Arturia or something. He mentions it in that video. I'll link it below. You know, and if someone like Stefan Bodzin went through a phase like that, where he was broke, he had no gear, nothing was working out for him, and managed to get where he is today now with his craft and his art, and to be this, you know, respected and loved as a musician, and to be such a fantastic producer, I think that really said a lot. At least to me it did. I was just like, man, wow. I feel like you always expect people like that to just kind of hatch the egg and immediately be like star producers and musicians, but no. Even people like that had to work really, really hard at their craft. So yeah, you know, stick with it, keep iterating, keep trying new things, keep releasing tracks, keep moving, charivetti, keep going forward. And I think, yeah, you will come to a point where you create something that you're really proud of and other people will connect with also. And that's what it's all about, right? So yeah, that's it from me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.